Welcome back. I am so thrilled to have you. I hope you are not in a snow day like I am today. I always said that every year is going to be my last year in the winter. And well, universe had a different plan with the world and changing and shifting. So we always have to make sure that we can adjust and change with the universe, because we all know right now the energies may be hitting you pretty hard, and that's okay. We have with the eclipse energy and the new moon, it's like a new moon or a full moon on steroids for the next 10 days. So if you're feeling a little bit agitated, irritated, what's going on, it's just stuff coming out of your body, and it is okay. So it's also okay to hide a little bit sometimes from the crowds and people that you need to. So we have an exciting show today. We're going to have a lot of fun. I don't think we're going to take any breaks because we have a great guest. And before we get into her, though, I want to remind you, December 2nd is our Christmas Give Back event. You can go to tracyLclark.com. It's our 7th annual one, where all the donations that we do all year long, we raise money, as you know, to help people in need. And this year, we've been able to give about $50,000 back in programs and gifts and finances to people in need. So this is what this big event is. We've picked our families, and we're really looking forward to it. So it is 2 hours of shifting, dealing with health and wealth. And we're also going to be doing our 31 Days of Prayer book launch, which just came out last week on Amazon. So now you could have all 2 of them. You could even have all 3 for Christmas, but it's different. It teaches you how to use your words, how to move through, how to shift. So we're going to do the book launch also. And so you have a replay if you miss it, but it's live for 2 hours. And we're going to get rid of 2021 and move to 2022. So I hope you'll join us there. I'm really excited today because we have a special guest with us, and you may have seen me on her podcast a while back. We had a lot of fun, and so I was so excited that Pamela could come and join us today. And you know, she's out there changing the world, and one of the things I know we all need to do is support each other to help each other change the world, because the world is on its axis. And it's our job to come together and really help everyone know, where are we all in the world? And I'm telling you, I know you guys have been saying, I'm shifting and my life is changing and I feel like I'm in the toilet. And that's because the whole world is changing at the same time. So if you remember, typically you would change and maybe Greece would change. Well, now you're changing and the whole planet is changing. So we're going to have a great show today. And Pamela, I'm so happy that you were able to join me today live, bright and early.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the world. And I know for you, and you know, one of the things you say to one of your videos, but I know about you, is when you grew up in that typical, what do we call it, just a programming of life that we all grew up in, right? You go to school, you get a job, blah, blah. But one of the things I love that you say is that when you woke up and you were ready to change and help people get to the next level, you say you want to have mind-blowing experiences. And I love this, but I want you to tell the audience, what does that mean to you? Because that's a pretty big term, and we're in all this shift and transition. So when you went and woke up and said, I want to create mind-blowing experiences for myself and others, what happened? What was that for you? Because I love that.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that was such a huge part of my awakening, because, you know, I feel like you mentioned, you know, I kind of went through the classic programming of just, you know, going to school and getting married and like going down that path of doing what I thought I should be doing. And, you know, sometimes life throws us curveballs and we find ourselves in situations we don't anticipate. And that's when we really have to dig deep and ask some deep questions, you know, self-discovery questions. Who are we? What really lights us up? And I believe that, you know, and I found too, as I paid more attention to how I was feeling across the board, physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, I didn't really feel that spark inside of me. You know, I didn't feel amazing. And I kept thinking, there's always been a little piece of me that just kept thinking, there has to be more, there has to be something better. So just, you know, kept like raising the bar and just searching for those grander, greater experiences. And, you know, I believe that life is too short to settle for anything less than mind blowing, but we have to become acutely aware of how we feel. And we have to be willing to, I always say, go first, right? Go first to say, I'm not happy. Go first to say, this isn't good enough for me. I deserve better. I want to raise my standards, and trust that the universe will meet us there. Because I think so many times we just get stuck in the mode of just accepting what comes our way and just settling and thinking this is just the way life has to be. I guess most adults are just stressed and exhausted all the time. And, and we kind of get in that mindset, but there's a different way. There's a different, more revolutionary way to do life.
Yeah, there is. And I love that you say that because most people, it's, yeah, like that settling. And if you don't put yourself first, I love that, I always like to remind people, I know you do too. It's like, well, you're allowed to have the life you want to live. They're allowed to have the life they want to live, but you don't have to live together. It's like when you go through a
Right.
bad divorce, right? It's like, well, okay, it's over, but you're allowed your life and I'm allowed my life. They just don't go together. And
Right.
I think that's exactly, it sounds like that's what you're saying. And that's what I love so much about what you're saying. And so can I ask you, what was your first, because I know we always have this one, but I like this question. What was the first like awareness that now you were in your mind-blowing space, your new place? Because when we come out of the crap, a lot of people that do this work, and this with all the people you work with, I know that is that I
Excuse
think
me.
we're in the fluff mode, right? Like, oh, it's going to be
Mhm.
fluffy and easy. And the reality is it does suck to uncouple the old and go to the new, but then it gets exciting. So
Mhm.
what was your moment when you walked through that in your own life, when you went, oh my gosh, like I did it. This is like amazing for me to live this way.
Thank you so much for asking that because it's something that I still get to live in the midst of every single day. And that is my business. I have to say that, finding my purpose, it's beyond just a business, but it's where I was able to formally establish my spiritual calling. So the moment that I decided that I wanted to be a spiritual life coach and then I pivoted more into kind of the executive space and helping people in corporate, it's been such an amazing journey because through that experience, I've been able to see the golden thread that has run through all of my different life experiences and how it's all come together in an integrated way now. So just sitting here, just sitting in the smack dab in the middle of the energy of creation every single day, connecting with source energy, tapping into universal energy, and it feeds me. It's a passion, it feeds me, and it's such a privilege to get to show up every single day and serve my clients, my family, the community, be on amazing shows like yours. I have to pinch myself sometimes because if someone would have told me, and my divorce wasn't even that long ago, it was 3 years ago, the ink wasn't even dried on the divorce papers. And just to look back and see what I've been able to accomplish with the universe over the last few years, I would have never believed it if someone gave me, a preview. Here's what your life is going to look like. I would have said, like, I honestly, number one, don't think it's possible. And number two, even if you told me it was possible, have no idea the pathway there. I have no idea how to get there.
I love
But
what you just said. I want to say this, stop you for a minute, because I love what you said. I want people to hear this. So you just said, I didn't think that was possible, right? And I get it. You go, oh, this is what's going to happen. But the thing was that you did different and I did different, and that we do when we awaken. And I love this is you still went, even though you didn't know where it was going to go. Because like people think that spirit shows us everything in our life. I'm like, doesn't work that way, guys. Like we gotta go in our own little intuition. But you just kept moving with the knowing. And
yes.
that's the difference. A lot of people have the knowing, but they don't listen to it. And so you went with the knowing, which catapulted you for 3 years. Would you say that's safe to say? Because that's what made you. That's what got you here.
And it really is that, the knowing and just trusting your intuition and just separating yourself from the desire or the need to have it all figured out. And I'm a classic Virgo, so I like to have things planned and meticulously organized and mapped out. And I used to get really, really upset if things didn't go my way. But, that's just kind of a recipe for frustration and exhaustion and feeling like a failure, et cetera. So I had no choice but to learn to just let go and surrender and trust the process. And really now I operate from a place of inspiration. So when I used to have everything mapped out, I would operate from this place of shoulds, a place of obligation. Like, oh, I guess if I follow these 10 steps, then when I get to the destination, when I get to my final goal, then I'll be happy. I'll have this I've arrived kind of feeling. But what I found was that's not how it actually happens. The joy is in the moment. If we draw inspiration from the now, find our personal power in the now, we only have the ability to connect to source in the now. So now I don't worry worry about, years down the road. I trust that, at that point I'll draw from source energy. I'll connect then and get my energy and my power there. So I just truly take, inspiration steps every single day.
I
Through
want to ask you something because
Mhm.
you came from that corporate world. I was in banking and corporate all those years ago, when I left. And one of the things, and you just said it, is, when you're in that world and you're taught business planning, and like you said, like step by step, you're going to get to that. But every time you get to that, it's like, yeah, okay, that wasn't really exciting. That wasn't the big mind blowing, whatever. What are we going to do next? What do you find? Because businesses are recreating themselves right now. And I always say businesses, they're life force energy. So for our listeners, your business is a life force energy. Your business is a baby that's growing and nurturing. And I'm curious, what do you find when you go into the businesses? Because they have to now, because we shifted so much in the last 2 years. There's so much new coming into the new earth. Because I'm curious what you find with the entrepreneurs now, because you can see they're moving. But also, I know I did what you did. Like I throw out the business plans. I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to follow whatever spirit says. And people go, that's crazy. But
Mhm.
I'm curious, like, don't you feel that's part of what we have to do in the corporate world? Like get them to toss out a lot of their rules and structures?
Yes, I do. And that's where I come in. I mean, I don't ask them to totally, do away
No,
with
no,
the
no.
right, obviously, but like that's where I think a healthy balance is important, I mean, gone are the days of just doing things for the sake of doing, going through the motions, focusing only on metrics. I mean, with this shift in consciousness, people are looking for more. They're looking for more connectedness. They're looking for to be seen, to be heard, to have that more of a spiritual kind of base or spiritual connection. So when we incorporate the soul-based initiatives, like having patience, surrendering, trusting the process, tapping into your intuition, learning to become aware, if something feels like it's forced or if we're flowing, etc. So I find that people it feels refreshing because it's almost like a relief or a breath of fresh air, like, oh wow, it doesn't have to be all about the hustle. Or really, I don't have to actually work 70 hours a week. I'm like, no, you don't. We can totally do this a different way. We can find harmony. We can learn to offload pressure, quiet the noise, delegate. There's so many things that we can do, but when you're in that fire drill mode on the hamster wheel, just kind of going through the motions, you think, oh, well, maybe if I just put one more hour in today, then I'll be more caught up tomorrow. And that's not the recipe for getting off that hamster wheel, so to speak. So, like I said, I'd like to help people raise their awareness and tap into their intuition and really do their life their way. I mean, that's really what this is all about. Living authentically is doing your life your way and learning how to delegate and learning how to speak up and learning to say, you know what, I need a break, or this doesn't work for me, or this is not, it's about shifting from that old paradigm to making conscious choices. And that's really the umbrella that's overarching everything that I do, either personally or professionally, in all aspects of life.
Well, I think too, right? Because companies, I always see them as like they're because we spend most of our day within our work environment, right? They're another soul family. They're another
Wow.
extension of our soul family where we're learning and we're growing. And if they understand what you're saying, and then we talk about living in that space, respecting each other, how you talk to each other, then their profits naturally go up because people are happy.
Mhm. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. When we come from a place of service and connection and growth, we really embody that mindset, rather than, doing things again just for the sake of doing, or, we can take a growth-based approach to everything, how we hire people, how we train them at the company, et cetera. So many things, but it really does take a shift in mindset. So we do it, it's a journey from the ego into the soul, ego being, about me, how does this move me forward, to soul being, how do we move us as the collective forward, whether it's the company, whether it's a family, whether it's humanity.
Yeah, now, well, we're all getting on to the humanity program, which is finally, I think that's a blessing in the last couple of years. It's made people go in and say, okay, like you said, what do I want to live authentically? And I always was asking spirit recently, like, what are the words for 2022? And I got like humility and trust and,
Mhm.
honor, integrity. And I love that those came up because I always look at what are the words for the next year, right? And
Mhm.
that applies to people in their everyday work. I'm curious, what have you noticed in working with a lot of these people in the corporate area? What have you noticed been the biggest shift this last year?
The biggest shift, the shift toward making more conscious choices. I think again, for so many people for so long have been on this is just the way it's done. I work for 40 years and then I retire at 65 and hopefully have enough money and good enough health to enjoy some years, some good years at the end of their life. Now people are saying, you know what, this is not how I want to do it. I want to, I want to call the shots more. I want to do my life my way. So I'm definitely seeing a huge shift in that arena of making conscious choices.
Yeah, I love hearing that just because if their work environment is like that, it affects their home, it affects their friends, it affects their family. Like, you know how they always talk about that pyramid. I'm like, well, I always say you invert it, but even if you look at it, it's like top down, right? Like if everybody's happy up here and it's moving out, and that ripple effect is so beautiful. And that's what you're doing is so important, because I really believe that as we see companies, and anybody listening, like even if you say, well, I'm just an employee in my company, there's ways that you can incorporate all of this work that we do, right? To be able to, it's not hooey wooey. It's not like, oh, we're just spinning the purple light. It's like looking at real issues that are coming up to make things better. And what would you find on a personal level with the individual clients has been their biggest like aha moment or challenge this year? Because it has been quite challenging for people to navigate, because we're like, a
Mhm.
lot of them are like, people hate the unknown, but we're in the
Right,
unknown. We have
right.
no choice.
Mhm.
It's like the
Uh,
unknown. So embrace it. So what would you notice with the people you're working with has been more of that consistent theme, or what have you seen? Because it is scary, the unknown world.
It is, yeah. I would have to say the consistent theme that I've touched on with virtually all of my clients surrounds the idea or the concept of time,
Yeah.
and unlocking more time. That is something that's something that I work with on work with all of my clients on. And everyone or a lot of people feel like they don't have enough time, but I help them to see like there's plenty. When we live in the world of abundance, there's plenty of everything to go around for everyone, including time. And so by making, again, it ties back to the conscious choices, by making conscious choices and paying attention to what are distractions and what things don't I need to be doing, et cetera, then we can design a life that we are really fired up about, that we do think is mind blowing. So it's again taking inventory on all aspects of your life and giving them a grade. I mean, that's one of the things I love to do is, how do I feel like, how would I grade myself as a mom right now? How would I grade myself, how I'm showing up in my business and if it's not like in the AA plus range, I'm like, we need to make some different choices, right? And that's really exciting and it's really refreshing, and it's people feel very liberated when they realize that, hey, I do have more power here than I've been allowing myself to have all these years.
So is that an exercise you give them? I like that. Like you say, go look at your different areas of your life and grade yourself so we can see which one to start with first. And then do you look at like where the lowest grade would be in their perception, or do you kind of gotta, how do you use that tool? That's a great tool. That's why I'm asking.
Thank
Anybody
you. And
listening,
it's super top of mind for me right now because like it's actually I haven't formally incorporated into my coaching yet, but that is
yeah,
going to be like the next session for each one of my clients because
I
I
love
do a
it.
lot of what I do organically and a lot of it stems from, what's going on like in my personal life, for example.
Yeah.
So, that's something I do for myself and it works really, really well. It helps bring a lot of clarity because without separating and kind of assigning those grades and doing that self-assessment, everything kind of blends together sometimes and it feels like, all right, yeah, I'm doing more or less okay. But when you really take a more of a granular look, it's super, super effective. So yeah, that is something that I'm going to be doing. So if any of my clients are watching, that will be our next session. We'll
Well,
be
you know what? And it's a great idea though, because like you said, right, everything does blend. And then they're like, well, I got my job to make more money. And, if I do this in my marriage, and they seem to get on this rat race and they don't know. So when you're saying separate your relationship, how do you grade that? Your relationship to yourself and your connection to spirit, how do you grade that? Your health, your wealth, your career,
yeah.
you can at least look, and I always say when people write things down, they're powerful because you see them, right? And then you
Mhm.
And you feel it too. Like if you're like hitting the pen going, I think my relationship's an F, you know, and you're like, there's some issues going on.
Right.
Write it down, you feel it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And how we feel is the best indicator of where to start, right? Where to start, and that's the best indicator of our vibration, right? What we're emitting. If we're not feeling good about something, it's an opportunity to look within, an opportunity to go deeper and, make peace with where we are is the first step, that self-deprecating, beating the drum of, I'm not doing enough. I'm not far enough along. That was stupid. Why did I do that? Like that's not the energy that's going to get us to where we want to go. So we have to close the gap and then move forward. So how do I move forward? What choices do I need to make? What do I need to let go of that isn't serving me? What do I need more of? So it's a process. It's a super fascinating, dynamic, ongoing process.
And I like that you said there because I think it's important. Like a lot of times, and we've all been there where we beat ourselves up saying, oh, we should have been here and there. Or, it goes back to what you're saying with time. And there's no shoulda, coulda, woulda. There's divine timing, and it's just showing up and doing this stuff differently to attract that energy through. And at the end of the year, don't you find like this is a big reflection time? This is a time to sort of look back and, sort of where were you and not beat yourself up. That's what I'm saying. But what are some of the things you like to share with the people you're working with when you're looking at kind of this year end and getting into the new year?
Yeah, I just encourage people to have that growth-based mindset and ask them, ask, what were some of the more challenging aspects of the year, and most importantly, what did I learn about myself? So that's the the key. What were your awarenesses? You can take that forward and then integrate that into who you are, and then bring your new improved version of yourself forward. So I really do encourage people to just look at the growth and really stay out of that that program, that script of that keeps them stuck, and that takes some work sometimes, because we're all we all have that old programming, those limitations, limiting beliefs that can keep us stuck. So really parting with that, because that's really what needs to happen. Everything in our universe, obviously, as you know, is vibration, it's energy. So anytime we're stuck in blame or shame or guilt or fear, any of those lower vibrational emotions, we're in a state of contraction, and everything that we want is up in the expansion energies: peace, love, fulfillment, joy, all of that. That's all up at the higher energies. So we can't get there unless we make peace with where we are and move out of that, and consciously choose. I know I keep using that word a lot, and that's for a reason. We have to choose happiness. We have to choose joy. I think the issue is so many people are living this conditional life. They're waiting for their external circumstances to be a certain way in order to produce the feeling, but really it's the other way around. We have to embody the feeling first. And that's hard work, right? When we're not happy with where we are, when we wish we were further along, it's really hard to choose joy and choose happiness and choose peace in those moments. But it's work, but that's why they call it work. But that's the soul work that needs to be done. But every ounce of the effort is worth it. But that's the process, kind of the general framework to
And
get
it
to
is.
higher energies.
And you're correct. It's a very conscious living. I know I always give people a challenge. I'm like, take a day and live consciously for the day. Like be
Yeah.
super aware. And most 99% come back, oh my God, I fell off in like half an hour. I was just driving home on autopilot. I wasn't paying attention. And I said, well, right there, it's exactly what you're saying. We become so unconscious with all of the media programming and all of the social, social media. It still drives me nuts. It's a love-hate thing for me. I know in business it's there, but it's because it gets I see people that tell me, Tracy, I was lost on TikTok for 2 hours today. I'm like, okay, so like you were saying, there's time, right? And they're like, I don't even know what I looked at. I don't even know what I took in. And when you become so conscious, and this is where I see, and I'm curious on your perspective of this, is I see this last year and the next year to 2 years is where people, so we call it waking up, but it's another level of that. It's as we're deprogramming all of this programming. So as we're unlearning everything we've learned and relearning, that's where I see there's this need for all of what we do, but also in the waking up of the consciousness, because we will start living to create more of this abundant earth, we do have to live consciously 24/7. We can't
Mhm.
live consciously only 5 minutes of the day and then zone out on Netflix for the rest of the day. Like, I'm not saying you can't do that, guys. Once in a while, we all need a break. Go binge something, sure, if it's fun. Like, I like good sci-fi movies and whatever, but you can't, if you're doing that 24/7, and then you're out of the energy, and that's what they want you to do. So what's your perspective as you see these next year or two unfold with that conscious awareness? Because it's hard for people right now, because that's not how they've been programmed.
Right, right. It does take a lot of effort and energy to bring certain programs kind of to a halt or and rewire them. So there is a huge shift in that area, and I think it's going to take time. I think we're all creatures of habit, and we all get pulled towards what's comfortable and what's familiar, what we know. Change is hard, but again, as people become more aware of tapping into their feeling, how they feel, when they start, let's say, living consciously for maybe 5% of the day, when the vast majority of their day used to be unconscious, then they'll start to make the connection between what they're doing and how they're feeling. And that right there will be the reason to want to do more. So though it actually becomes addictive. One of my clients just said to me the other day, he's like, I am totally addicted to universal energy. And I'm like, I totally know the feeling, because when you finally realize what it feels like to feel amazing, what it feels like to have mind-blowing experiences throughout the day, what it feels like to really just optimize every human experience you have to the extent that you can, then you just won't accept feeling any other way. And so I'm able to, because of that, I'm able to disengage from things quicker. I'm able to put up boundaries and say, you know what? You're deciding to react with anger in this situation, but I'm not going to take that emotion on. And so we learn to make those conscious choices, even surrounding emotions. And then that's when we really tap into our true power.
That's a big one. And I believe this is the year people are really learning that, right? That's their
Yeah.
stuff, not my stuff. And I think that's one of
Yeah.
the biggest tools that if anyone really grasps that, and it's beautiful. Because I know for me, people say, don't really seem like you take a day off. And I'm like, but I don't really. I love being in the energy. It's not work. Like, it's like, you get it, right? It's like play. There is a, whether you want to call it an addiction or a life, it's just a beautiful, to be in that space, to be in that beautiful loving energy all the time. Well, you're choosing, right? Do you want to choose the
Right.
beautiful loving energy in creation, or do you want to choose the poo?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
that's where people really need to go right now, and just sort of go, okay. And I think, so what would you say if someone says, okay, I kind of woke up and I don't know where to start. This feels good. I want a mind-blowing experience. I'm just curious, where would you tell them to start? For someone listening that says, okay, there's some people go, okay, I get that. I want to move that. But there's a lot of people waking up right now that don't know what you and I know. They don't know
Right.
that there can be this glory space on the other side, and that you can live in this place. So what do you like to say to people when they come to you and they're new and they're like, okay, where do I start? Where do I start?
Great question. Thank you. I'm so happy you asked that. So I always start with a question, because I believe the at least the tool that I use, or the approach that I use to help people awaken, is to ask them powerful questions, because I believe that everyone already has their answers within. I'm just here to kind of guide them. So what I would ask them in that situation is, what do you truly want?
Mm, yeah.
What do you truly want? And ask them to think about that, because that often changes. What we wanted a year ago may be very different than what we want today, which may be very different than what we want, a year or two down the road. So start there. What do I truly want? What do I value? What matters to me? And from there, we'd have a conversation. Then I would encourage them to think longer term. Fast forward to the last hour of your life. I mean, somber, morose place to go, I realize, but that's when we have that perspective, when we look at life through those lenses of,
Yeah.
of just taking inventory of how we spent our life and who we spent it with and the choices that we make. We can have the opportunity to make those choices now, right? But we can't do that if we don't have the perspective of the long term, right? The perspective that this is all temporary. All
Yeah.
of these things we're stressing about, and all of these material possessions that we're, working so hard to accumulate, we come into the world with nothing and we leave with nothing. And so when we encourage people to focus on what truly matters, qualities of the human spirit, the soul, that's when they really start to awaken.
Yeah, because you take the memories with you. I always say we just rent our meat suits. We just rent them and then I'll think like they just go back into Mother Earth. We even rent our time with Mother Earth. Like
Yeah,
we're borrowing her time, right? And
yeah.
then boom, it goes. It's interesting you say that. I was working with my mastermind group last night and I was asking them if this end of this year, like if this was the last, December 31st was the last time that you would see, all the people in your life, just
Mhm.
scan them. Like, what would you do different? What would you want to do different? What would you want to move out? Like, who's wasting your time? And it's not to say that they would all disappear. That's not what I'm saying. But if like, take a scan of the people in your world, right? And
Mhm.
look, because a lot of times it was interesting. Some people are like, oh my gosh, I need to call my mother a little bit more, even though I don't agree with her, but she needs to hear a little bit more. And I can do that to make her life good. And it felt good for them to do. So it was interesting to listen that, yeah, if you had till the end of December and then everybody was gone, what would you want to do different and how to reframe that? And you're so correct. It's like, what is in the now that you love and what is in the now that you don't?
Yeah.
And what do you say to people, that old saying, feel the fear and do it anyways? And we've all said it, we've all been there, but to the people that are there is a lot of fear right now. And I don't want to discount that because we are blessed. We're blessed that we get up every day. Now we had to go through our garbage to get here, guys. So don't think that Pamela and I just woke up yesterday and that was it. We've been going on this journey and working and shifting to create the life we wanted. We had our lows, we had our highs, we had our ups, we had our downs. So you're going to have that. That's called creation.
Yeah.
But when you look, so to the people that are listening said, I am in fear. Like my life is changing. What do you say to them, or what do you recommend that they could do to just sort of move through that a little bit easier? Because some people are losing their jobs right now. Some people are, and which I think is a great thing because I know I've gone through job loss and it led me to where I was today, thank
Mhm.
you. And I know we lose things and people think that's the end of the world. So
Right.
what do you say to people when you meet them and they're afraid and because they've lost a bunch of things, whether it's a relationship or a job or their lifestyle?
And I would have a conversation with them and get an idea for what their beliefs are and help them understand that their beliefs, getting their beliefs in alignment with who they are is absolutely crucial to moving forward. For example, one of my core beliefs that applies to the scenario that you just talked about was, I believe that life is always rigged in my favor. I believe that life is happening for me, not to me. And so then I can look at every experience I have with gratitude rather than looking at it through the lens of lack and loss and limitation. Because again, everything is energy. So those are the lower vibrational energies. And so if we're choosing to stay stuck in fear, then we're disallowing ourselves, then we're choosing not to move up into the higher energies, which again is where everything is that we want. So I think, and I would challenge people too. I like to kind of go toe to toe and say, like, okay, if you make this change, how do you know that what's on the other side of this isn't way better than what you're experiencing right now? And then
Yeah.
they can stop and say, oh yeah, you know what, you're right, it may actually be better.
It's
So
so
trust
true,
it.
isn't it? Like this is one concept that people have a hard time wrapping their head around. I want you guys to really take this away today because it's like every time we move and we think, oh my God, it's always better on the other side. Haven't you
Yeah,
noticed that? It's always
yeah,
better and
yeah,
better than what we could imagine.
absolutely. And that's the universe, right? That's when we trust and just hand it over to the universe to work its magic. And if we don't live in that state of surrender, then we never allow the universe to surprise us. So there we have to trust, right? We have to trust the higher power, the universe, God, whatever higher power you subscribe to, that power, that source of energy is all knowing. We aren't. We can't possibly know everything that there is to know what's in our highest good with our conscious mind. We have to trust that what we are going to get is as good as, if not better than what we want for ourselves. And when we believe that that holds true at all times, then that's when we can learn to relax and surrender and just enjoy the process, right? Trust the process and shift over to the passenger seat and enjoy the views rather than being stuck in the driver's seat all the time, navigating and stressing about getting to our destination on time. I mean, but then we miss out on the views, we miss out on life.
And you miss out on the fun little things and that little bit of joy or laughter, that extra hug with your child, or sometimes you're just sitting there watching, I used to like just watching the cartoons with my kids because they would snuggle, they'd laugh, they'd be silly, and you get all these like fun little moments together, right? That you'll
Right.
remember for forever, that a lot of people are like, oh, okay, watch a show and I'll just go make whatever. And again, back to consciousness and understanding what's happening and unfolding your day. I always believe that, if people looked at their day and maybe they did it for a week, that they could actually find probably a dozen things they could move off their calendar. Don't you notice that when you're working with people?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In the personal life and professional life. And I think, it's important in that situation to adopt a different narrative or adopt a different script. Ask yourself questions like, how does this move me forward? Right? Is this in alignment with the life that I'm trying to create? Right? What value is this bringing to me? Is this necessary? And when you run it through that program, then we start to make different choices. Then we realize, oh, well, this is just a distraction, or this is just a time filler, or and we realize that those aren't productive activities. So then we can make, again, more conscious choices about getting rid of certain things, delegating, and then replacing that with things that do move us forward. Relaxation being one of them, one of the most underestimated concepts from my personal experience, and also from my my professional work as well. We're just so wired, we're so accustomed to be going all the time, but rest and relaxation is super, super important. We have to build in time to recharge, give the law of rhythm an opportunity to kick in. There are time periods where we need to go hard, and there are other time periods where we need to intentionally rest. And that is something that I've done more and more as I've gotten busier in my personal life, my business, et cetera. I really do intentionally carve out time on the weekends to rest and recharge. So it's, again, about making those conscious choices.
Really important moving forward, because I think a lot of people right now, I still hear a lot of people say, well, if I show up and put in this extra time, then I'll be rewarded for it. And that's such an old system that is going, and it is leaving with the old earth. It's like, I know where I live, a lot of people that have really shown up in the last 2 years are now being told, see you later, get out of here. But they thought putting in all this time, they thought that here I am, I'm going to get rewarded. And they just went, out you go, see you later. So it's a really good example of how, when you take charge and say, like, you do need to rest, you do need to play, you do need to.
Mhm.
And it's funny because I've, like with you, the busier you get, in terms of your work and everything, the better boundaries you have. You actually have time to do everything you want to do.
Yeah.
And that was a big shift I noticed for me. And it sounds like for you, when I was in corporate and kids and single mom, I was like running out of time, like you said. And now I'm busier than then, but I have time to do everything and
Yeah.
watch TV.
Yes, yes, it's so interesting that you say that, because I was actually talking to my mom on the phone before the show this morning, and and I was telling her how I remember when I had my first, I had my oldest child, who's going on 18 now, when I was 30, and I thought like the world stopped spinning, like my world was turned upside down. Of course, I was super excited, but I could barely get a shower in by noon. Like my whole world was upside down. And now, and I was living under the old paradigm, right? The old, fear-based paradigm, that space of lack and limitation. Now that I live in the world of abundance, fast forward, 4 kids, literally they're going to be in 4 different schools next year, going in a million different directions. Single mom, in a household with half the resources, and business, added the business, the podcast, the book, and I still have capacity. I feel like I will always have capacity. But again, and I believe that's true for everyone, by the way. I'm not unique in this. I believe that if we choose abundance, if we choose to believe that there is enough of everything to go around for everyone at all times, then we have unlimited capacity. That's when we step into our, again, power, and we really become unlimited and untethered. But again, that's a choice. So I had to rework a lot of those limiting beliefs to get to that place.
Yeah. And then also you look at things and you do say, and I know you've done this, like, especially as single moms. I know I was a single mom forever. And I chose to be that way. And, so they were 5 and 8 and we went through the divorce. They're now like 20. Wow, how old are they? 27, 24. Yeah, I'm only 20, guys. Okay. But it's like, they're older, but exactly, you do that. You start to say, okay, I do need to do this because for my children, I want to do this. I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I don't want to do. And you start, it's like taking out the trash, right? It's like, okay, that goes. And as a single mom, and I think a lot of times single moms do fall in the trap of, I'm a single mom, I can't do that. And I fell into that the very early. And I was like, wait a minute. When I started to wake up and do the work, I was like, wait a minute. That's a myth. That's a belief system. As a single
Yeah.
parent, I cannot have the time. I am running ragged. And I'm going to have a worse life because I'm a single parent, but I don't know about you, but my life just got better and better and better as a single parent. And my
Mhm.
relationship with my children grew stronger.
Absolutely. I experienced the same. It was actually shortly after. So when we got divorced, neither one of us wanted our marital home. And so we bought separate homes. And shortly after we moved into our house, the kids said to me, they're like, Mom, you're so much happier now. And that was just an observation that they made on their own. My energy was starting to come back. I was starting to feel free and authentic and really getting back to the essence of who I was. And that was a result of stepping out of a place that was past its expiration date. So
Yeah.
again, I was on that other side of fear for a while. I was in, what would it be? I was in fear, what would it be like to be a single mom, reclaim my identity, rebuild my life, tend to my own healing, my kids' healing, etc. But I would have never been able to experience that if I didn't take that leap of faith and just trust and surrender. And again, I'll say it, again, I believe that anyone can do that in their own life.
Yeah. Anyone can. And that's the thing. It's like, I always love that little, the little engine that could, I think again, I think again, I think again, but
Yeah.
it's, you can. So
Right.
you take that and switch it to, I know you can. And it does, it just starts to transform. Tell us a little bit about your book. Um, and what inspired you to sit down and write it, because I know, I have took me 8 years to write my first one, and then in the last year I got so 3 in the year, and I said I'd never write a book, but it's it's it takes time. It's your heart, it's your pouring out. So what was that inspiration that said, I want to get my book done and share that with the people?
Thanks for asking. So actually, when I started my business, I thought, well, I'll just create this like this online course, and I'll do maybe these 8 different modules. But every time I sat down to write, I was experiencing resistance. Like it just wasn't flowing. And I was
Mhm.
just listening. I was tapping into my intuition and just heard these whispers from the universe, like, go big. You have a message that needs to be shared to a broader audience. And so I just got the pull. I felt the pull to write a book. I showed up at my next meeting with my business manager and just said, you know what, we're going to go big. I want to write a book. And that was purely, divinely inspired. And I literally just sat down. I carved out about, I don't know, 6 hours a day or so and just wrote. And it took me about 2 months to crank it out. I got it out pretty fast, but it was pure. I mean, it was truly, parts of it were channeled for sure. I look back and I read it and I was like, it does, I barely even remember putting the words on paper, but I just said every day, I would just say, universe, speak through me, allow me to be, the conduit. And I believe the universe has chosen me and has
Yeah.
called me to experience, to walk through some really challenging things in my life so that I could, I had the opportunity to show up and serve and raise collective consciousness. So I put my story out there. My book is called SOAR, SOAR. I put my story out there in a raw and real and authentic way. It's an
Yeah.
experiential journey through my divorce process and shows how I took the journey from fear into faith, into trust, into surrender, and just trusted. If I showed up every single day with an open mind and an open heart and just trusted that, my path would be illuminated as I went. And again, I shared some real raw and vulnerable emotions because, I can't expect my clients to do that if I don't do it first.
Yeah, and
So
I
I
love
talk about, just the splitting up of the Christmas ornaments and,
mm,
finding one of my daughter's drawings that had like a story about her life that ended in, that last sentence was, and then, my parents got divorced, the end. There's all these little, tough moments is
mm,
the chapter that I called it, but that's part of what being authentic is. It isn't just, I didn't want to put a guide out there to, 10 steps to a harmonious divorce. It doesn't, that's not raw. That's not
no.
real. That's not what people want. They want relatable. They want to see, they want you to show them, right, how you walked through some of these really dark moments and came out on the other side. And it was all done in a spirit to give people hope.
And I love, and this is like course correction, guys, because you were going to write a manual, but then you went, I can't, like spirit was blocking you, right? Going, no, 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 to put your story out there and to say, because divorce is not easy. I don't care what anyone says. I have some people that say, oh, well, it's not that bad. I'm like, yeah, okay, really? Like it's not easy. You're moving imprints. And so to put that out, but it also helps other people understand, wait a minute, when I'm going through these life transitions and changes, like you said, relatable. And right now, I really believe a lot of people need that. And there's, the reason I ask you about your book too, is because a lot of people are going through breakups of relationships right now, a lot, and they need to read stuff like this to understand, how to be able to navigate and move and to say, okay, she got through that. So I've got hope. I can get through it now. And I know, and that's why Spirit said, okay, you got to write this. And I think it's for this divine time right now, because a lot of with the endings are a lot of relationships. Like I know some of my clients and people I know, they're divorce lawyers are like, oh my God, like I can't even keep up, like they're so overflowing. But on the other side are the people going, what do I do? So it's really, really, really important. So can you tell everybody, one, where to get the book, where to find you? I know we're getting to the top of the hour here. I'd like to go there first. And then I want to know sort of some of your thoughts for the people listening as they're moving through to the next year.
Yeah. And so your question specifically was where they can find me. Is that
Yes.
right? Yeah. So liveauthentically.today is my website. So you can it's a one-stop shop there. You can learn about my coaching services. It's got my book on there, coaching packages. I've got a blog, links to my podcast. So that's where you can find everything. And also my contact information if you'd like to email me.
I love it. I love it. So when you look at all the people that you've worked with in this last year and everything kind of going from the end of 2021 into 2022, what are some of your thoughts, things you want people to take away with and really digest?
So I love to help people step into their fullest potential. And so I want people to understand that if they adopt a new mindset, if they're willing to do life in a new way, and just show up with an open mind and an open heart, that they can open themselves up to a world that they couldn't even dream up themselves. And so at this, I just, wanted to kind of impress that point is that, you are just limitless, and we all have that, but we have to be willing to, again, do life in a new way and connect to a source of energy greater than we are.
Yeah, it's so important. And now more than ever, because the holiday time, I know for a lot of people can be challenging. And if you start tapping in, and maybe that's where, if you're listening and you're like, I need something different, then that's where you need to go get the books. That's where you need to sit down and say, okay, Pamela, I'm at the end of the year, I'm not going to make 2022 like 2021. And if you like 2021, well, you can make it even more glorious. And this
Mhm.
is, I think I'm safe to say that you probably agree that we live this way every day. We don't just get up and it's just how we are with our clients. And I think that's the biggest, I always feel that's the biggest mental shift people have to take, is that we live like this. It's
Mhm.
not just like 9 to 5. Oh, we've got our clients. This is what we live 24/7. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it absolutely is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
24/7. Yeah.
It is a lifestyle. And that's that space where if you really want to understand why Pamela and I got to where we were today and what created that, is we did get up and we do have to make those choices every day. And we're very aware that, okay, I got to change my thought process on this, or I have to change my point of view on this and do something a little bit different. And if you can grasp that, then you can start to make a lot of changes in the next 4 weeks that you can carry into 2022.
Yeah.
Which,
Absolutely. Well said. Well said.
yeah, I really look at the world and I get really excited. I know there's a lot of truths that have to come out, but I get really excited that as we get into, I believe by the time we get into the end of next year, we're really going to start to see, I've always said this, like once we get into 2023 to 25, we'll see a much more, a different world, a different earth on a lot of levels, even though we have a lot of changes to still make, and they will happen. But it looks like there's this acceleration process that's now finally at the second half of this year. So I don't know. I always say turn off the news. I think that's, would you agree? I always tell everybody, turn off the news.
Yeah. Yeah. I never even turn on the TV in my house. The only reason we have it is so my kids can watch sports, sporting games and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I never watch the TV. Mm-mm.
I don't even know. I don't think I've had cable. I don't remember. I think I canceled it like 10 years ago. If I do want to watch something, I make sure I just stream it and that's it,
Yeah.
like, so I'm in charge. Remember in the old days when we turn on TV and there's like commercial after commercial after commercial?
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that hour show was like half an hour of commercials, like brainwash,
Mhm.
right? Think about that, guys. Turn off the TV. watch good things like this. Listen to Pamela's podcast. So your podcast, I know you can find on your website. And I really encourage you guys, if you're wanting to listen to some more good, positive, uplifting content, to go and listen and enjoy and embrace. And even if you're having a nice bath, like put on something like that that is inspiring, that can give you an idea. And I hope you'll take away today some of the things that Pamela was saying, and even to do, go and make a grade, whether you want to do it 1 to 10. I love that. Or A, B, C, D, however you want to do it. If that triggers you from school, because most of us were not great in school because we're empaths, we don't learn that way. But whatever doesn't trigger you, I think that's a great tool for people to start before the end of the year.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'd encourage everyone to give it a try, see how it works for you.
Yeah. And now you'll be incorporating that. So your clients will be like, oh, I got some work to do now. What quadrant? And I think that's the other thing too, right? Is people sometimes look at it and think they have to deal with every quadrant at once. But I always like to say, if you deal with one quadrant, you'll see the ripple effect in the others.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There really is no way to truly compartmentalize all aspects of our life, nor would we want to. So we want to reap the benefits of the work that we do in one aspect across all different aspects and allow it to have that ripple effect.
Yeah, when you get that heart moving first and get out of that thinking and into the feeling, that's really where the miracles start to happen and start to transform, and they start to unlock in a different way, where when you
Mhm.
notice, like, oh, guess what happened today? I think
Yeah.
that's what we want people to know. Is you and I look at that, we're like, oh, guess what happened today? Oh my gosh, guess what unfolded? And it's so every day gives you that mind-blowing experience, like what you're talking about.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what's one of the fun things before we have to wrap up that you're going to do for the holiday season? What's something of joy that you're looking forward to?
Oh, thanks for asking. I'm actually so excited about this. So my daughter, my 10-year-old and I are going to go to New York City on Thursday. So we're going to kick off the holidays in New York City. I go every year. And so she wanted to go with me this year. And so we're going to do ice skating at Rockefeller we're staying right by Rockefeller Center. So we're going to see the Christmas tree every day and walk around and drink hot chocolate and probably recreate some elf scenes from the movie. He's silly. So I'm super excited about that.
You have to go to the world's best coffee.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We will. Yeah. Empire State Building, hit all the buttons on the elevator. We've got it all planned out. I just
They
told her
make
no,
sure.
no taking the, no chewing gum from the railing. That
No,
one's off limits, especially in a world of COVID.
that might make you bump, but you could say, okay, there's that really stuffy businessman. Now we'll go in the Empire State Building with him in the elevator and hit all the
Yeah,
buttons.
exactly.
Oh, see, memories, right?
Yeah,
Like creating
exactly.
memories. And
Yeah, that's right.
I'll
It's all
come with
about the
you.
experiences.
I got to come with you intuitively. I always wanted to, we all know Rockefeller Center, and I've seen it, but not in the winter time, right? Like, so I always
Mhm.
thought I'll just tag along spiritually while you guys go ice skating and have some fun, because those are the important things that you'll remember long after we're off the earth plane.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm super excited about
And
that.
that's how you're kicking off your holiday.
Yeah, I
Oh,
am.
I love it. I love it. You know what, everybody? That's what it's about. This is, no matter what's going on in your world, create some memories. And even people know, for me, I'm like the biggest light nut. Like I have big lighted trees all over. I have a 4-story townhome, but all over, right? Everywhere, and lights everywhere. And I'm kind of the weirdo that puts everything out in like November, like early November. Like reading before Halloween is over. Probably that same sort of people, even though they say it's not cool to do. But I say, do what makes you happy, guys. And that's the thing right now. And that's what Pamela is saying, is do what makes you happy. Follow that inner knowing. And if you can do anything, make yourself a promise that you're going to put yourself first for the 2022. Reach out to people like Pamela. Come check us out at what we're doing. We're all helping here. There's not enough of us on the planet to help the amount of growth. And I hope you'll really check out Pamela. I'm so happy that you joined us today and you were able to come and share your wisdom and your beauty inside and out with the world. And I just wish you an incredible holiday. And I can't thank you enough for stopping by and sharing your beautiful energy with our audience today.
Oh, thank you. It's been such an honor. I've so enjoyed being here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, everybody. I hope you will with our new 31 Days of Prayer book that did come out this week on Amazon. But again, I just want to remind you, December 2nd is our Christmas give back, and we've been able to help a lot of families. So let's keep helping them. And I hope you'll stay tuned, because I'm also going to tell you December 2nd what's unfolding with the foundation that we finally got approved to go to help a lot of families in need around the world. And we're going to be looking to partner with people to help make people's wishes come true. So that's, you're going to want to know more about that all around the world. People just like Pamela and everybody that is helping. We want to make sure that we can all do this together and create a new earth. So have an incredible week, everyone. I will see you next week, where we're going to have Shivani with us talking all about crystals for the holiday season. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Tracy L. Clark Show with me, Tracy L., where I teach you how to connect to the God consciousness so you can unlock your superpowers and connect at light speed and live your extraordinary life. Tune in every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio, where together we will unlock the secrets of your body and your life. As the founder of the Body Regeneration Academy, I, Tracy L., will provide you with the insight and simple tools you can apply right now in your life to move you forward and leave the past in the dust. To join the Body Regeneration TLC Online Academy, make sure you check me out at tracylclark.com.